Okay, so the idea is to look at some data, general data, on what's really happening in Iberoamerica, especially in this region in Latin America. Now, Juan took away my presentation because he really focused on the main point, which is the problem of learning. Let me take three different variables to see what's really happening in a region. This region is making great strides, economically speaking, and educational reform-wise, to reach better learning standards because they're meeting very different issues. Let me first show you this chart, which is the evolution of educational budget in Iberoamerica. Look at the efforts altogether in Iberoamerica regarding educational investment. 2004, we start off with a very important historical series in the region in Latin America. You know that there's been a change in the price of commodities, of raw material. We included massive inputs, and they decided to invest in education, which is great news. In other moments at the region, there were situations of great economical benefits, and we never had such growth in terms of investment. So that's the first good news. Investment was made, and more investment is being done in education in the region. If we take a look at the chart, not just investment, but if you look at the budgets, the last is that of Iberoamerica, you see that although it seems that it doesn't grow much, you do have an average, a regional average. Some drop, others go up, but the regional average in terms of budgets is growing. There are, as I said, some declines. In red, you have 2008, and in green, 2010, and the small boxes is 2014. You can see per country investment and the increase in investment and its different features. Now, if we, in addition, in the case of Argentina, if we add a chart that has to do with faculty increments and different positions, you'll see that it is as important as educational investment. In fact, we have one of the highest rates, or lower rates, I should say, in terms of the ratio faculty students, like that in Argentina. So this decade has been one of constant educational investment increase, budgets, and system expansion. So now what happened with coverage, let's say? Another way of looking at what the educational system is doing is coverage. Look at the coverage in elementary or primary school. When you look at these numbers, figures, there are differences between countries, but also differences in different moments. Argentina had reached a coverage rate close to 100% at the beginning of the 60s, and other regional countries reached that coverage level in the last years, that is to say, at the beginning of the 21st century. This table does not show the differences, but yes, it shows that in Iberoamerica the coverage rate is 92%. Some Central American countries still have this challenge of having all children go to primary or elementary school. This shows how the system is still building. It's in that stage of building itself. If you see a high school, it is low. This would be 7th grade, first and second year of high school. This is, of course, in Argentina, according to our educational system. If you look at the rates, they increase, but not as quickly as is to be believed in the region. So here we have 72% go to lower high school, 7th grade, first and second year, and 80% finish off in a timely fashion. In Argentina, this would be the coverage. You see how it has evolved. Our system used to be pretty mature in elementary school. That was in 1993 when this series began, but not so the 5-year coverage. If you take a look, there is a growth until it reaches 97. That is to say, 5 years has this coverage when you reach preschool. And here you see high school with greater leaps. The rate you see is at the net rate, not the gross rate. That is to say, those that belong, the children that belong according to age range. Even so, in high school in Argentina, which leads the process, there are students that are out of school. You know this very well, so you have repeat rates and dropouts rates, and going from lower high school, as we say, and upper high school. So now this is another topic, and that is learning. What happens with learning? I mean, we've made great efforts financially speaking. The system is growing, and the task for elementary school, which is why this whole system was created, that is to say, for children to go to school, schooling, it seems to be reasonably successful. Not fully successful, but reasonably successful. But we start now to see the results of learning. So we have elementary up to 6th grade. This is the latest test. These are the results attained by the Ministry of Education or Department of Education. You could see below level, learning level, in social sciences and natural sciences, 14% of children. We're talking about the system as a whole. Then we will speak in detail. But in basic education, that is to say, the minimum level below basic level and basic level, we have about 30, 40%. So we could say it is acceptable in social sciences and natural sciences. So here you have all the figures in writing. So this is the last one that is called Aprender that has been reported. Now we will speak about another topic, which is high school. And I go from elementary school to high school because this is interesting, a system where you believe that the learning results are dropping, even in subjects or courses like math. It is a disaster, we could say, if we have to use a name. 41% of the children are below basic level, 41%. Between basic and level and below basic, it's about 70 or 80%. In language, this seems to be a little better, so the results are here. 62% in terms of basic and below basic level. These are the 4 categories, as you all know. When we talk about skills and information and managing these, so we have the standard and below standard. These are the national measures that reasonably reflect really a great delay, gross delay in terms of learning. This is a historical series of performance. It's interesting to show the chart because you can actually see that there's a relative stability in satisfactory levels. There is some improvement in the advanced group between Aprender 2016 and Aprender 2017. This is the name of the systems. In math, you could say that advanced level from 2013 to 2017, there are less students in the advanced level, but there's a growth in those that are below the standard level. I don't have much time, so I will skip through a few. This is against the TERS by UNESCO international examination showing the performance capacity or the yield capacity of educational systems. Argentina is below the theoretical line in terms of what the educational level should be if you compare to the income. To look at Chile in the upper right quadrant. Now, this is regionally what the tests say. The learning tests, level 1 is the basic one. It's per country, and the total amount of countries is 18%. Level 1 means that they can read a paragraph and understand it, so there's comprehension. That's level 1. And level 2 is the level that enables a student not only to read but to connect to other paragraphs. And level 3 is more advanced, so you can infer from that the information in the text, you can reason, and then you have the advanced level. So this chart shows in the last assessment by UNESCO how Latin America and the region is. Figures change, of course, but because Spain and Portugal are not included when we come to Latin America. But this is just the picture, if you would, of how we are at considering the region. Juan says I don't have much time, just 2 or 3 minutes left. So I wanted to underscore the following. We've made great efforts in terms of resources, economic resources, and we are really achieving a few things. Schoolings via different processes that are typical of the educational system, and others due to urbanization and other issues to put children into school. But we're not so effective in learning. We still have great difficulties for children to learn. This is related to the following, and I would like to venture a hypothesis. This is related to the way in which we organize our educational systems. The truth is that we organize them substantially to build a massive schooling where the core value of the educational system was just to include more students into the schooling system. So the policy, educational policy for the last century in Latin America, but especially in Argentina, was to build schools, to have faculty members and include children in those schools. So how did we measure? We measured it based on coverage and on the efforts regarding investment. We do have a challenge ahead, which is not just to include children into the schooling system, but include them into knowledge in a world where managing information is decisive, and so you require to develop certain competencies, not only basic skills typical of the 20th century, reading and others, math, and we also require new competencies and new skills, and these systems were built for that other educational policy and not for the future, so for the future demands. So we have to change the way in which educational systems work. We have to equip them with different goals, and also include the fact that results are not measured by the amount of children and students, but how much they learn. And this transition, that's where we are in Iberoamerica and in Latin America. In Latin America, all change processes in the last 15 years, and I exclude Argentina, were related to this idea of including those results into the system in different ways. Sometimes by promoting salary-based situations for the faculty members to take charge of their results, or sometimes to promote school efforts, giving them more independence, autonomy to achieve these results. But all the reforms you may find, whether governments or in different shapes and colors, like in Brazil, like in Colombia, with their two different ideologies at a given point in time, they were always geared towards including learning results within the educational systems as part of their goals. So this is educational policy in Iberoamerica and especially in Latin America in last years. In Argentina, we haven't gone through that road. We are just starting to think about all these topics. They are decisive in terms of how an educational system pulls one way or another, pulls to attract children to school or attracts them for quality education. That's our crucial point in Latin America and in Argentina. Thank you very much.